hello to all you lovely rock and metal heads. Welcome to Pyrotechnics, the podcast brought to you by Fireworks Rock and Metal magazine. Issue 102 is out now. It's 164 pages with more reviews and more interviews than any other music mag. If you can't find it in the store, head on over to www.fireworksmagazine.com or our sister site, fireescapeofficial.com. You can either buy a hard copy, which will get posted out to you, or you can buy the digital download as well. What have you got to lose? You might find a new band that you like, and you might find some new genre music that you like. So go and get it. So I am very glad to welcome the big hitter, the man in charge, our commander-in-chief of Fireworks Rock and Metal magazine, Mr. Bruce Mee. Hi, Bruce.
Hi, everyone.
You could say it's a bit of a we're not worthy moment for us, especially me. I know that Bruce is used to hobnobbing with the stars. I think we've got the perfect guest for today, and that is pun intended. He's a guitarist, a vocalist, a founding member, and also the songwriter of a band that, in my opinion, has one of the coolest names of any rock band out there. I am, of course, referring to Mr. Greg Hart from Cats in Space. Welcome to the show, Greg.
Hello, Earthlings. How are you doing?
Right, I want to start with something. I mean, you've got all these plaudits, Greg. You've got all these wonderful accolades about the albums that you released, especially the latest one. But the best one, I think, probably, is that you won the Fireworks Album of the Year 2022. I mean, how does that stack upon all your achievements?
Superb. I mean, to be fair, any number one anywhere is kind of amazing, because one thing Cats in Space never do is we never take anything for granted or underplay or overplay anybody. We're very honest people, and we're really respectful of anybody that's taken the time to even bother to review us, let alone put us at number one. I mean, it's a great accolade. It makes what we do worthwhile, as the old saying goes. I don't personally make albums for medals and awards. It's nice to get them, and I'm very appreciative of them, but it's the way that you get them. It's the fact that they've come from a good place. Like, it's not just some random magazine that stuck you at number one because the record companies told them to or something. It's done by people that care, and if I feel that it's come from a good place, then it means more than anything else. So yeah, we're chuffed to bits. I mean, I was only having a thing this afternoon talking to a colleague, and I said, we must be one of the only bands that have got virtually all the press on our side, which is bizarre. Maybe it's because we're the same age and that they're all rooting for a good old-fashioned rock band to come out and do something a bit different, So yeah, we're chuffed.
Brilliant. I mean, it deserves it. I mean, the music that you point out is fantastic, man. Like I said, the last album got so many positive reviews that you smashed it basically.
Yeah, well, the sales kind of have been very strong for us. It's our best-selling album. I mean, Atlantis did really, really well. I mean, each of our albums has surpassed each other, which is a good thing. They're not dropping off. But yeah, I mean, it went in the national chart midweek. But bearing in mind, I think there's a lot of people out there. I know we do hype ourselves, and we've got quite a good little promotional tool that we use. But we are totally self-funded. We're a cottage industry. We don't have any help at this stage. We don't have any help. It's just us doing it. And to see our little label go into the national chart above Pink Floyd in the physical sales is ridiculous. But yeah, it's all what it is. It's chip paper at the end of the day, but it means a lot to us, So we're chuffed, yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you, Greg, talking about sales, I noticed in your shop you do a lot of vinyl, and obviously I work a lot with Escape doing vinyls and that, and my opinion, or what I've seen over the last 6 months, whatever, vinyl sales, especially for our kind of music, was not going that well. So I noticed looking at your site, like your initial Poke the Witch 7-inch single was sold out. Are you finding that your vinyls are selling well, that the fans are appreciative that you're doing vinyl?
Yeah, well, that's a good question, Bruce. Right back from day one, when we put the band together, bearing in mind we're this big old retro band that do everything like it's 1976, which was my remit, and I don't have any shame in that at all. But when you bring that into the modern world, it's the stark reality is you're bonkers. Why are you doing this? Yeah, everybody from the our engineer to the band members to friends, they said, you know what? Wouldn't it be cool if you brought out a 7-inch single of your single? You know, we didn't do it on the first few albums because there just wasn't the money or the resources to do it. And they're vanity projects. So 7-inch singles don't make you money. They're for fans. They're for collectors. But what we noticed is when we released, I think our first single was "How Does It Feel" with Danny Bowes guesting. It went nuts, not just because of Danny. The thing went nuts because it was a 7-inch single in red and white vinyl and stuff. That thing sells for 50 quid a pop if you can find one. You know, we sold out, you know. So we thought, okay, we're not going to fund the whole album on a 7-inch vinyl, but it gave people a massive talking point. And if they're talking about your name on a 7-inch vinyl, they're talking about your band. And that to me is good promotion. So we've always used 7-inch singles as a dewy-eyed thing for the fans to collect and to remember what it used to be like. And they're very limited editions because, you know, you don't sell that many of them. I mean, you know, 500 if you're lucky. 500 is actually really well, in my view. So we've kind of made a rod for our own back because the fans now expect us to bring out vinyls, and it's costly, but we do it because it continually gets that talking point about what they're going to do next. What's the next thing? They've got to collect them all, you know. So we do well with 7 inches, even though they're a bit of a lost leader. The vinyl LPs, as I've been saying for, I first said it in about 2009 when I was in Maritz. I told the guys our next release needs to be on vinyl, and they literally laughed me out the studio. They said, "You are insane." He said, "You need to get into the modern world, Greg." I said, "Trust me, vinyl's coming back." I was there right at the front of it, and so we did, and much to their disgust, you know. And vinyls, again, it fits the Cats in Space remit. You know, it makes people that like Cats in Space, they expect it to be like going out down to the shop and buying Hemispheres by Rush or Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath. They want that experience of having something physical in their hands to liken the music to, and they want to embody it. You know, it's maybe our music and our style lends to it more than a lot of the younger bands, but it works for us, you know, and our stuff does sound good on vinyl. You know, if I do say so myself, Kickstart the Sun, if you buy the vinyl, it sounds better than the CD because it's a different frequency. Don't care anyone says they'll go, no, CDs are better, digital. They're not. Trust me, the depth of sound on a vinyl is better. Don't get me started.
We had this conversation last podcast, and I was saying the exact same thing. My brother played me Rainbow Rising on CD, Rainbow Rising on vinyl, and I'm like, yeah, the vinyl sounds better. So
it does.
There you go.
Rainbow Rising, especially. I've got the remastered CD of that. And the only reason people say it's better, in my view, is because it's got more top end on it and more volume when you put it on the thing. But if you get the original vinyl and crank your system, Tarot Woman sounds better on vinyl, man.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to touch upon, Greg, is actually something that you said as well, is because you keep it all in-house, do you find this more satisfying the way that people are reacting to Cats in Space than perhaps if the record companies were getting more heavily involved?
Double-edged sword, that one. Yes, it's extremely satisfying that we can sit back and wallow in all our kind of we did this thing, but financially and mentally on my health, it's backbreaking. I mean, me and Stevie have only been talking about this morning, that we literally run on vapor running the band. Stevie Bacon, he's like everything to part of Cats in Space as I am. We do everything together. We decide everything together. He does any artwork, any of the digital stuff, all that is Stevie, and I kind of, you know, do what I do. You know, we write the songs together. We do everything, and it's really, you know, like you were saying, this isn't for the faint-hearted. If you're going to do this in this day and age, you have to be able to commit to it. You can't do it as a weekend warrior. You just can't. And that's a subject that I'm sure we may get onto about the state of the industry and how bands cannot be professional anymore because there just ain't the business there for them to give up their day jobs. We're fortunate that we're old ducks, and we've kind of got into a position where we can maybe tend to have time a little bit better than many of the other people that are younger than us. But it is backbreaking, and in all honesty, for Cats in Space to go where we feel it deserves to go now after this amount of time, we've reached the ceiling of our own kind of cottage industry, if you like. We know that we're at the rooftop of it, and we are going to have to reach out and look for help, because we've got a good brand, a good product, we've got a great back catalogue, and we've got a very good business sense for a bigger company to come in and say it's all there. We are all there for a bigger company to say they've done all the legwork. Let's take them on and give them the push into the A League. Because you've got to be honest in a cottage industry. You can't sit here. I won't swear because I'm sure it's going to go out to all the kids, but you can't sit here jerking off saying how great you are because someone says you're the best thing ever. You've got to look at the potential of where your band can go. And if you want to go there, you've got to really think hard about it, So it's tough. But don't get me wrong, being the decision maker at my age is the smart money, because I've been in the game for 40 odd years and I've been bossed around by people that I thought knew better and I trusted, and they turned out to be full of hot air and they just wasted my time. I've literally watched a year of my life many years ago. I watched a whole year, 12-month period vanish through rubbish, just through being fed rubbish. And I vowed I'd never do it again, and I've never done it since.
One of the areas that we have to talk about is a tour that Cats in Space are going to be doing. I know you've spoken to Antiques and Fireworks, Rock and Metal magazine, about this in an article that is absolutely superb. I've had the joy of being able to read it beforehand, and it is full of information. So people, you need to go and buy it. You also need to go and watch this tour. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. Greg leaves nothing on the paper in respect, so he gives everything. He pours his heart into this interview. It's absolutely fantastic. You're going on a 17-date tour, I believe, that starts on July the 20th at Bracknell and ends on December the 16th in Swansea. Yep. But you had an epiphany, didn't you, in some respects, in the last tour, where you suddenly thought, hang on a second, some venues are better than the others. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, I mean, it's again, I did kind of give it all in that interview because I'm passionate about it, as you said, and people need to know. I mean, it's not just me saying this. I've spoken to some people that are dealing on A-level gigs, and I'm talking about the O2 down, big gigs, and how much even the major bands are not selling the tickets that they used to sell because of the knock-on from Brexit and COVID and all that nonsense. Unfortunately, it's crippled the industry far more than anybody knows. And people, if they want live music and they want to support bands, I know money's tight and it's tough, and we've all got treble mortgages than what we had 6 months ago, and a pint of beer or whatever, everything's gone up in price. We know that, but if we still need people to really support live music and go out to these places and keep them open, because we saw some horror stories on that last tour. Some of it, I think, is the fault of the venues, because they rely on social media to sell all their tickets and they don't know how to do it properly. They don't know how to clean their toilets. They leave them stinking of God knows what else, and that's annoying. When you're like my age and you rock up at a gig, the last thing you want to do is being led into a smelly dressing room that stinks of last night's crap, and not even be offered a glass of water. We don't expect roses and champagne on arrival. You expect human, decent, just basic rights, And some of these venues, it's not because they don't want to do it. They literally haven't got the staff, or they can't do it. And their PAs are collapsing. The monitor systems are not working properly. There's no posters up. They're not helping themselves. And unfortunately, that is in the rock clubs that I've seen. That aside, Cats in Space, everyone knows we're a 6-piece band. We make a big racket. There's a lot of us. We're like ELO on mini scale. You know, we know that we're a tricky band to get into some of these venues by that fact alone. But you know, give us half a shout if we're going to come along. Let's try and do it. And we played some small venues that were absolutely amazing. I'm going to name them because they deserve naming, and that's the Waterloo Bar in Blackpool. That venue is rocking because the guys there really put their asses on the pot for it. It's no surprise. It's not rocket science. They worked their butts off doing it. And also, Club 11 in Stoke is a fantastic little venue. Really, really great little venue. You know, unfortunately, we can't fit the show onto those places, but they were so good to us. So hats off to them. But there's other gigs that are the opposite of that. And then we found that when we went into some of the theatres that we know, because some of us have played these theatres in other bands for years, it's a different ballgame. It's a completely different ballgame. They have the infrastructure to make these places work. They have a very, very loyal clientele that's been built up over donkey's years. And for me, that's where rock music is going to need to go if it's going to survive, because it won't survive in playing these spit and sawdust places with the attitudes that are out there. And I'm sorry, that's my view. You know, it's tough. It's great if you're a weekend warrior and you want to go and play to 60 of your mates and get pissed on a Saturday and pretend you're Eddie Van Halen. That's great. No, there's nothing wrong with that. It's brilliant if you're going back to work on Monday and telling your mates about it. That's not going to be the future of rock and roll. It's not. You know, if you want bands to come through and make a living and really keep this business going, all that stuff needs addressing, and it needs everybody to do it.
One thing I wanted to ask you is the fact that you don't have a support band. Is that because you wanted to have like full control or the financial aspect of it, or you felt that the size of venues you could fill them yourselves, or what was the thinking behind not having a support band?
We love support bands. We've had some great bands. Vambo, superb band. We love the guys from Vambo. You know, they're friends of ours now. You know, they're Blue Nation, another great band we have playing with us. You know, we've had some great bands, and there's such nice chaps. You know, and you know, it's been great. But the only reason we don't have a support band on the tour coming up is simple. We want to do a 2-set show where we can focus on Kickstart the Sun in the first half and our smelly big hits in the second half. You know, the fans are always saying to us, "You didn't play this. Are you going to do that? Oh, don't drop that out the set." Blah blah. I said, "We'll be playing all night at this rate." But we are there to sell a double album, which is the most lavish thing we've ever done. So we just thought, you know what? Let's do a theatre show. Let's do 2 halves. First half is the album. Second half is our big numbers, and everybody can go home happy. Hopefully, we won't have missed too many songs out. You know, it's no slight on not having a support band, not at all. It's just the way this show's going to work, and there's no room for them either.
That's funny. You're supporting yourself, which is brilliant. So
love it. Yeah. Hopefully, I won't be as good in the first set as the second set, if that works. I don't know.
One of the things that's been noticed about the tour as well, Greg, is, I mean, I know that you've answered some people personally on Facebook and social media about this, but a lot of people said all your dates are down south and there's no real ones up north. Is that just simply because, I mean, I presume I probably know the answer to this one, but is that simply because the venues aren't available, or is there another reason?
No, you got it in one. Also, I live down in the tropical south, so anything north of London is Arctic conditions for me. You know, I'm sitting in my Bermudas. You know, but no, seriously, you know, piecing this together, this tour, which in my opinion is quite impressive as it is, it was nigh on impossible because the roll on from COVID, it's still knocking on, and it will do into 2024. You know, because everything's rolling into. Everybody wants the same places, and then obviously you've got to get the mapping right. You know, we can't go to Scotland and then down to, you know, Penzance on the same weekend or whatever. And unfortunately, the way it worked out, we just couldn't get a Yorkshire gig. I know there's Yorkshire people out there going mad, and it doesn't. You know, we've said sorry, we've explained it to everybody. You know, we just couldn't fit it in. We'll do it next time. If people come out and support this tour, we'll make sure that next time we expand it. our logical way of looking at this is simple. We was originally going to do 8 shows to try this new format out with what we want, because it's expensive. You know, we stand to lose a lot of money on this, you know. So we said do 8 shows. 8 went to 10, 10 went to 12, 12 went to 16, stop. And just so the Northerners do know this, we haven't got a show in London either, chaps, where I come from. We haven't got a London show. We couldn't find anywhere suitable. So we did the best we could do with the time that we had to do it. And even then you'll see the tours split into pieces because we just couldn't get it all together. Next time round, if this works, we won't minimize it. We'll hope to, we'll expand it, and we'll definitely do Yorkshire. I mean, obviously we want to do Leeds and all those places. We're not doing Newcastle. We're doing Hexham, and the reason why we're doing Hexham is that we played there before, and we've naturally got our foot in the door, so we can rebook that theatre without too much grief. And I'm sure many of my counterparts out there will tell you, you try and pick the phone up and contact a theatre and book a show. It's not easy. Our agent has had as much trouble as I've had doing it. So when you do get your foot in the door, you tend to stick with that venue because you can build it up. And Hexham is one example is why we haven't gone to Newcastle. That's not to say we won't go to Newcastle next time, but you've got to go to where you know best, which is why we go there, and Lancaster, and like the Stables in Milton Keynes is an absolutely amazing venue. I mean, we'll always go to the Stables. It's a wonderful place. And I've got a good relationship there. So I know I can book the Stables every year, saves me a little bit of headache. I can move on to the next gig, as indeed can our agent. So it's a really tough call. We were lucky to get those dates. We could have ended up with 8 dates.
Another thing I wanted to ask you about, Greg, and lots of bands don't do this anymore. Obviously, in the big arenas, you get the fancy programs, but the smaller bands or even middle-sized bands touring don't do programs. But you're designing this lavish program for this gig. I just want you to tell us about it, because that's something I'm really happy about, that you're doing this.
There you go. See, old school, and it's money in paper, Bruce. So I was saying, not being fun. No, there's. I've always liked that notion that if we're going to go into a theatre, you've got to present your show in a theatre way, and most good theatre shows will have a souvenir program. And when I used to go to gigs back in the day, the first thing I would do is run up to that merch stall, not the T-shirt. I wanted the tour book. I wanted the Thin Lizzy Johnny Fox tour book or whatever. So I come from that angle, and I thought, well, our fans will lap up a tour book because the first thing they'll do is want it signed. So what they're going to do, they go to the merch table at the end of the gig, wait to get their tour book signed, because we always come out to sign for free. We don't do meet and greets and charge all that nonsense. Not on the tour, we don't. So we come out and sign, and we did a tour book on the Narnia tour, and it went really, really well. But the trouble was, Paul Manzi left halfway through the tour, and we had to scrap it. But we did sell really well on the tour book, and that was only in funny little gigs. That wasn't even in many decent places, to be fair. So we thought, if we're going to do the theatres, we've got to do a theatre book, and it will be a lavish affair, and hopefully we'll sell loads of them. There's as much money in a theatre book as there is in a T-shirt for us. So it's revenue that we desperately need to do the very thing, So it's all, we don't drive around in Ferraris on the back of a tour book. We use that money to buy the hotels that night or to pay the crew, So it's another revenue stream to keep Cats in Space on the road.
You've also come up with quite a novel idea as well for the sponsorship of the tour as well. That when I read about it, I thought, that's actually pretty impressive. I mean, how did the idea of getting the sponsors the way you have done come about? And have you been pleased with the uptake of it?
Yeah, I mean, I was lying on the sunbed one day, as I do, trying to think of ideas. That's where I do my best thinking. No, I wasn't really. I was doing a torturous run actually around the park, and I thought, all these big tours like Britney Spears and Kiss and that lot, sponsored by Coca-Cola, sponsored by Heineken or whatever. Why won't that work on a smaller level with, dare I say it, smaller budgets, you know. We're doing a tour book. Why don't we advertise space in the tour book? To make a 16-page or a 24-page tour book is of no consequence to us at all. So we could fill some pages up and do some good for some good people out there. You know, try and spread the love. You know, that's what we do in Cats. We'll spread the love. We're not Ponzi rock stars that go around, oh no, we don't mention other bands' names. Oh no, it's all about us. We're not like that. We spread the love because we believe that's how the industry should work and how it will survive. So when you guys came in and said, yeah, we'll have some of that, I'm like, oh wow, it's going to work, because you were the first to kind of say, yeah, we'll have some of that. I thought, oh, this is good. So Stevie and Zoe, who keeps charge of all of our finances, we sat down and said, right, let's go to a few people that we know and see whether they'll sponsor our tour. And I recently had laser eye surgery, which is amazing. London Vision Clinic, everybody. Can't recommend them high enough. They're amazing. I cheekily just said, any chance you want to sponsor our tour? Because the guy that pioneered the surgery, Dan, big shout out to Dan, he's done a lot of very, very famous people's eyes. I can't mention names because it's, you know, I'm not allowed to, but they're humongous mega stars. We're talking the elite, and he's done their eyes. So I thought, they must have a lot of money. They love rock music. You wouldn't fancy sponsoring our tour? They went, yeah, we'll do some of that. I'll put you in touch with our marketing department. Next thing you know, they sent some money through for a little mention of them. They didn't even care whether we mentioned them in the tour book, to be fair. So we thought, oh, this is good. So it's been really good. And then I said, why don't we offer it out to bands that have got albums coming out, and maybe they want to bump a little advert in there to promote themselves? So we promote other bands in our tour book, you know, why not? You know, back in the day, if you was in the Thin Lizzy tour book, it's because you were supporting the tour. You got a little cheeky page at the end of the brochure. So we thought, why not? I'm not going to say it's funded the tour, but it's certainly, you know, it certainly helped us. So yeah, it's been a brilliant result.
Oh, it sounds like an ideal time to bring in the Circle of Friends 2 project that I know Bruce is heavily involved with, being his baby. But you've also got a starring role as well on one of the songs. I know that we have an advert in your tour program for the album, but how did this come about for you?
Funny enough, I think Damien said to me one day that he was approached to do some singing for this, because Damien doesn't really kind of have a foot in that kind of rock world, if you like. He's a lovely chap. Because I've had this request for da 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 da. I went, yeah, go for it. And then one day Khalil got in touch about something. I'm not quite sure, because Khalil was always bought Cats and Space vinyls. You know, he's always come and purchased them. You know, which is. I said, oh, I'll send you one. He said, no, got to support. You know, he's a good lad. And he just said, would you, you know, play some guitar on one of the tracks on the Circle of Friends too? And I'm always a little bit dubious, because obviously I'm very comfortable in my own skin, but I'm not necessarily comfortable in other people's, because it's not. I've never been a hired gun, as it were. So I went, okay, yeah, I'll have some of that. I said, I'll see what I can do. Send me the track across, and I'll go into the studio with my lovely engineer Ian Capel, and I'll see what I can do. I was expecting a song that would be possibly down the Cats remit a bit, so it's a bit more commercial, maybe something with a very melodic that I can do what I do on it, if you like, because I'm not a hotshot whizzo guitarist. I'm a melodic player, you know, very simple. I'm to write the songs, obviously. And he sends this track across, I'm going, oh, hell's bells, this is so not what I do. Great song, love the song. I thought, Christ, I can't. Because most of the guitar players that would do that kind of stuff would be, whoop, whoop, you know, doing all this kind of histrionic stuff. And that ain't me at all. But I listened to it and I thought, I could do something. I could maybe do a bit of a, you know, a poor man's Brian Robertson, as I normally do on most stuff. And so I just had some fun with it. And to be honest, I was a little bit nervy. I thought, if they don't want to use it, it doesn't matter. You know, it's just a bit of fun. But I'll do the best I can. So they seem to like it. And as far as I know, it's on the album. So yeah, happy days. But it's not something I do a lot of. I've been on. I did an album with a guy called David Palfreyman. Um, he released an album called Decades a few years ago, which is big, lavish, War of the Worlds narrated type, amazing album. And I did a lot of guitars on that, and that was really good fun because it was very much from my kind of remit, if you like. So I found that quite good and quite comfortable. But yeah, I enjoyed doing the Circle of Friends thing, but I wasn't expecting to do a Blood and Thunder song. But yeah, it's good.
I mean, bringing you in, Bruce. I mean, where do you get the ideas, or how do you decide on which artists you want to appear on these songs?
You want me to give you the honest, quick answer?
Go on.
It's all down to Khalil. I mean, as far as guitarists go, it's down to Khalil. Singers, I 50% my choice, 50% Khalil's choice. But anything instrumental wise, it's all Khalil.
And
Ah.
having heard Greg's input, what do you reckon?
I liked it, and I didn't think that song was what Greg said, Blood and Thunder. I thought it is heavier than Cats in Space for sure. I'm quite attached to that song because I wrote all the lyrics for it. So
Oh, fair.
I thought Greg did a great job on it. I was real chuffed. So
Oh,
thanks.
nice one. Thank you very much. I didn't realise that, Bruce. Oh, nice one, mate. That's great. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like to be challenged, and it was really good fun to do. And I felt, well, I think I got out of jail with that one. But it's like everything else. When you give something up for someone to say, do you think this is good enough for what you want? You're always a little bit on the back foot, thinking they might go, oh, God, I wasn't expecting that. What's he done there? Same as it would be if it's a Cats in Space thing. When the guys come in and play, they have to kind of know what they're doing, but no, I really enjoyed it, I really did. So hopefully I'll get more invites to do stuff because I'm a little bit shy in that respect.
So there you go, people. So when it does drop, Circle of Friends 2, the first track you've got to put on is Eternal Love, obviously written by our own editor Bruce Me and featuring Greg on guitars.
Yeah, buy the CD, folks. It's good.
Indeed. Right, one thing I want to ask, and it's possibly a bit of a contentious one, this, but it's picking up on something as well that you said, how as an artist do you feel that the rock scene can sort of get itself better again after obviously the COVID, the Brexit, all the challenges that was faced by the pandemic, people being laid off, the business suffering as bad as it is. You've already alluded to as well that, Cats in Space have had trouble booking venues, have had trouble, finding things that will fit your style of music. How, in your opinion, though, can it get better?
Well, they need to bring the interest rates down first so people can get some breathing space because it's this poxy government of ours who couldn't. Am I allowed to swear in this podcast or not?
Go for it, yeah.
No, I try not to because I swear too much as it is. But they couldn't do a good shit after a curry. They're just hopeless, and we're being sold down the river. But that's probably another story for conspiracy theorists and me to chip in. But it's really tough, and whoever decided on Brexit is an absolute clown. Because it's crippled the industry. American bands aren't bothering to come over because it's just not financially worth it, and they don't need the kudos. And I mean, this is a very long-winded kind of discussion, really, because as bands get older, you get more cynical and you don't have the hunger to think, do we need to go to England? Do we need to go to Europe? Do we really need to do that? Sod it. Don't do it. When you're 20, yeah, got to do it. Got to go pack my bag and bugger off for 6 months. So the harder it gets, the less people are going to be bothered to do it, and they'll go and do something else. So the scene for me is in tatters. And this is depressive. I don't like being depressive. I like to try and be positive, but it is in tatters, and you have to shine a light in the everywhere and anywhere you can to try and keep people on board. And social media is so quick now. I mean, you'd literally got 5 seconds to get your advert noticed, or it's gone. YouTube, you get 20 seconds if you're lucky. We got the stats from a post the other day, how many 3-second engagements we got with a post. I can't even say 3 seconds in 3 seconds. You know, I mean, it's like, what's going on? So relate that into ticket sales, into gigs and selling records and doing bits and bobs. It is really, really tough, and it goes back time and time again straight to the people, the fans, the punters. You know, more than ever, as tough as it is, you have got to support your bands to try and help rebuild this industry, because it's crumbling. You know, it is crumbling. I don't know any band on our level or the next level up that can hold their hands up and say, we are professional musicians and this is what we do, because the record company have given us 100 grand advance and we can live off that. Gone, man. Days are gone. You know, that's not happening. You know, the 80s will never come back again in that respect. Even publishing deals. You know, I've not got a publishing deal, and I've got 15 albums of material, and I've not got a publishing deal. I can't get one because I've had offers, but no money, no advances like in the old days when they give you 25 grand a year advance to, you know, to nurture your career and your talent. Now it's like, well, we'll take all the songs off you, but there's no money, but we'll try and place them. We'll put you on all these websites. Forget it. It's not going to happen. You know, you're in a needle in a haystack. So I'm on the soapbox, guys. Sorry, but it's really, really tough. And you have to, you know, you've got to more than box clever these days. You've got to try so hard. I mean, even your darknesses, you know, Justin Hawkins has got his, you know, Justin Hawkins Rides Again thing, which is amazing. You know, he's smashing the arse out of that because he knows that he has to have other revenue streams and other avenues to exploit his career, you know, because you just don't get it out of the one thing. And that's why Cats in Space, you know, we have to kind of do other things as well. You know, everybody does other bands and music in other forms. You know, we all kind of have to chip in elsewhere. It's the only way to do it. And we're doing it. Me and Stevie are doing this 24/7. You know, we are absolutely doing it all the time. And even that's not enough. So bands that want to dip into it every 5 minutes and when they come in from work, they haven't got a chance. I don't see how they're going to do it.
That's another thing I wanted to ask you about, Greg. We've had this discussion in our podcast before, but from a band's perspective, what's your opinion of Spotify?
I've had to come round to the idea of Spotify purely because of the you know, the exposure, that old dreaded word exposure that it can give you. Again, I only talking about this today. You've got to get on people's playlists to then suddenly get on people's radars round the world. You know, people can get 2 million hits farting about doing whatever and just going viral. Whereas we put a whole album up there and it ticks away bit, and you get nothing from it. So it's a necessary evil in my book. We had a funny thing happen to us a couple of weeks ago. We got our stats in and we had this massive upturn in Finland. What? I don't know what that is. Finland, where Teenage Millionaires has suddenly spiked. Out of all of our music, Teenage Millionaires spiked in Finland. And we found out that it had got onto a playlist that got put onto other people's playlists, and it piggybacked. And we had more hits on Teenage Millionaires in a couple of days than we'd had on it elsewhere in total. So I can see in a mad way, I can see the positive in that. Financially, it doesn't matter diddly squat. You've got to have Bohemian Rhapsody to make any money out of Spotify. And I think that's where it's all wrong. You know, if there was any justice in the world and a future for music, the people that run that site should think, we're all going to die at some point and you're going to have no more music to put on other than back catalogue. Why don't you give them a bloody chance and give a bit of a higher royalty rate to all these bands that would then go, wow, we can now do this full time and we can keep the industry going. So it's almost like take. The industry's collapsing because there's no money. It'd be very easy for Spotify to up their game a little bit, And all of a sudden, bands like us will be getting thousands of pounds a week coming in, and we can go, right, let's get in the van, let's go and do a tour, let's go and make another record because we've got the money coming in. Well, hey, the rock music scene is alive and well, but it isn't because everybody's robbing you all the time, and that's the problem with it.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Eh? Greg, one thing.
But I don't like being doom and gloom.
Well, let's
look
look
positive. Otherwise, you know.
exactly. Let's look at one positive thing, and that is the way that the ethos that you guys seem to have of treating your fans almost in some respects like family members. I mean, I've been on your website this morning, and people, I would really recommend going to see it. catsinspace.co.uk. It's fantastic. It really is. It's set up fantastically. It's really easy to read and navigate, and it's done in a personal way. And this is what I've also, thought about when I've read about the tours that you guys are doing. Like you say, you're looking after people now. The venues that you go into. One of the quotes I think I like was that you don't want people sort of standing for 4 and 5 hours. Just as there's been like 4 and 5 bands on a bill. You've already mentioned the toilets, which you go to some places and by God, they're absolutely terrible. Is that personal touch, something that you guys thought, right, we're consciously going to do this. We're going to go down this route. We're going to look after people.
Yeah. Again, this is another one of my long-winded answers. But firstly, that website is totally done by Stevie Baker.
Yeah.
That is his game. He built that website. He runs the website, and it's coming from his heart. So that's why it's coming from the right place. So I'm so glad you said that. That's really kind, because you've just said what Stevie would like to hear. You are seeing it from a love point of view. We want people to go, oh my God, look at this. So we really do work hard in how we present everything we do. See the cat pod, see this. And at the same time, a website, you have to give people, they've got to feel safe. They've got to feel that they can trust you on it. So if they do go into your shopping cart, you're going to give them a good service. And we give really good service on our website. No two ways about it. We give the personal touch. We keep everything in-house again. We even think down. One year we even thought about putting cat prints on the wrapping paper for the Christmas purchases, which was Zoe came up with that. She actually did that. We sat down there and we said, sod it, we don't care. There's no smoke and mirrors here. She did that, and she did all these amazing parcels for Christmas, and people were going nuts over it, and they were spending a lot of money. So we're very respectful of the fact that our double albums cost 30 odd quid, and they go and buy a t-shirt, and they go and buy a print, and they go and buy a patch or a badge or all this God knows what stuff we've got on that website. We've got tons of it because people like to collect it. And all of a sudden they spend 100 quid. You have to be very respectful to these people. And we do treat them like family members because they keep us going. We do VIP events, and which are very exclusive, and they're very expensive, and they have to be expensive. And God bless them. We did these VIPs, and they come along, and it's like your relatives coming out for the day, and hello there, and they all come in, and they're all like starry-eyed, and you're letting them into something that fans just don't get the opportunity to do. And I said to them, back in the day, if I was invited in to watch Phil Lynott record a vocal when he was doing Black Rose, I'd have wet my pants, And we're not Thin Lizzy, we're not Phil Lynott, but to these people, we are that kind of special to them.
Yeah.
So for them to come in and watch us do stuff and come and see a VIP event where we do whatever, it means a lot to us and them, and they get very emotional. They're very emotionally attached to it when, oh God, I don't want to be doom and gloom, but people have died through COVID, and we've lost some fans, and we're seeing the wives or the husbands coming along to our gigs or our VIP events after losing their partner of 30 odd years, and they've come to connect because we remind them of them. We take them to a happy place. It's like, Jesus Christ, you can't put a price on that. When you got that shit going on in your fan base, you are very respectful of it, and we'd like to spread that out to everybody, to everybody and anybody, really.
Indeed. I mean, absolutely brilliant. I mean, check out the tour dates. Come and support Cats in Space. You know, they're a fantastic band. You're certainly going to get an evening full of great music. And as Greg said, you know, it's a family. You know, it's not one of these big multi-corporation things. It's a family. It's a band putting their all on the stage. You know, so support this industry. Support what groups like Cats in Space are doing. Greg, we have
Yeah,
a bit
100%.
we have a bit of a section on the podcast where we go into a bit of a secondary topic, and one of them that I know sort of boils Bruce's piss in some respects is the rock and the Rock Hall of Fame. We've had a few discussions about this. I mean, we won't mention the Spice Girls again because I know that really gets Bruce going, but there's been another omission this week in, I think Iron Maiden have been snubbed again by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know, what do you guys make of this in the industry? Does this thing carry any weight at all? Is it just a case of it's a bit of a self-indulgent, you know, thing and whatsoever? Or is it a case of, yeah, actually, you know, we kind of like this kind of, you know, we want to be in it, this kind of thing?
I can sum it up very quickly. A lot of backslapping arseholes just saying how great each other are, then behind their backs they're stabbing them. Turn off, switch over, go and put a fucking record on and listen to something decent. Not interested. That is the ultimate, like the BAFTAs and all those poxy award ceremonies you see in England where they trot out the same old celebrities sitting around them tables, clapping with a grin on their face, hoping they win an award. It's not about that. You know, it's not about that. I don't care whether Iron Maiden are in the Hall of Fame or not. They're a fucking good band. I saw Iron Maiden in the clubs. You know, I watched them go from the cart and horses to the Enormodomes. You know what I mean? As far as I'm concerned, Steve Harris is God. You know, that man is an absolute fucking legend. He doesn't need to be, you know, acknowledged by a load of arseholes to tell him so. And I'm sure if he did turn up, he'd turn up in his khaki shorts and training shoes and a West Ham scarf. You know, not, of course, if I was invited to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and I got accepted, I'd be very gracious, of course, and I would turn up and I'd wear a dicky bow. Not that that's going to happen, but no, I'm with Bruce. It's just something that I'm just not interested in. I don't like backslapping award ceremonies. You know, I'll be very appreciative if ever I got an award, but I don't do it for that. The reward is that people clapping hands, people purchasing records and telling you they played your song at their wedding or their funeral, whatever. That's the reward. That's all you need. You don't need anything else.
Bruce, you got anything you want to ask?
Well, you know what my opinion is. I mean, that female rapper who got in after our first nomination, I had to Google to see who she was. I'd never heard of her. And people like that getting in and classic rock bands not getting in, it's just a joke. So I don't even think about it. It's just not even worth thinking about.
Yeah. Go and buy the album and go and watch them play live. That's what you'll need to do. Don't need anything else. Don't need acknowledgement. Not at that level. You know, these guys at that level. I mean, Kiss rocking up there to get an award, and Ace and Peter Criss gets wheeled out. You know, they don't need to do that. Fuck's sake. Gene Simmons doesn't need any more TV exposure. The man is TV. You know, you don't need it. You know, they should give out awards for the bands like us down at the bottom that are working their asses off for 4 pence. You know, give us some recognition. Give us some bloody breakfast time interviews instead of going, oh, we've got Ollie Murs on the show later, and later on we're talking to Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber and his new music. Fuck them. They've done it. They're in the A game. Why don't they help break the smaller bands? Jules Holland, give some decent bands a try. Don't get me started. You know, we don't get the exposure because we're not ratings. You know, what's the point of putting us on the BBC sofa? Our songs are better than what fucking Ollie Murs is doing, and half the people in that game, they're just churning out auto-tuned shit, you know. But I'm swearing now because I'm annoyed. I'm with Bruce on this. All of that stuff really annoys me because there is no platform for new stuff to come through, which is why I keep going back to why the industry needs to have a shake up. I even thought today, this is something for you guys, a bit of an exclusive. What would it take to get a YouTube channel where we get as many people like yourselves and us and as many good-hearted people to club together, get a YouTube channel, and do our own like hour-long, once a week rock YouTube program with a presenter, and we edit it down and put bands' new videos in there, and we have someone that kind of goes in between the songs, maybe a bit of chat with a few people, put it together, stack them up, and then release them week after week, and get everybody to share it and build some things up. Take it off the telly and put it onto YouTube. Is that an idea, maybe?
That sounds fucking awesome.
I'm with Bruce on that one. Yeah, I think we'll certainly have to look into
it
that
needs
one.
the magazine. It needs your brand and the band's brands and other people's brands to all join in on that and have a big powwow and say, let's do it. Let's get a studio. I mean, I hope we got time for this. We did a live stream during COVID up at KK Steel Mill with Stu from the House of Tours, and they had this, and we did a pilot, and it was going to be a half hour to an hour music program talking about gear, having a band play live in the studio, cutting to this, cutting to that. Brilliant. The concept was superb. It never took off for some. I don't know why it didn't take off. It didn't, but we did the pilot. I think it's on YouTube. Crusher Jewel came along and talked to us, and we had an interview with him, sitting on flight cases. I went, "This is brilliant. This is like the Tube back in the 80s. It could be like that." But COVID smashed it, and it never really took off. But I've always thought if someone took that template and put it onto YouTube, yeah, you've got to work hard to get the hits. But if you've got the right team that are behind it, they're organically going to get a lot of hits just by their brand alone. What's to stop us doing it? Exposing all these lovely bands with these great new videos that you see get 6 hits on YouTube, and then that's it. You know, expose them. Give them a chance, you know. Call it Cats in Space TV. I don't know.
That's certainly a great idea. I think might have to look into that one, Bruce.
Yeah.
Greg,
I'll tell you that could be a winner. And everyone will tune into YouTube will love it because they're going to get loads of hits, aren't they? They put loads of adverts in between it. I think it could be a good idea. You know, if someone wants to put that together, I'm more than happy to come in on it and, you know, join in.
There we go. We'll have to see what we can get up and going. Greg,
Good
one last thing. I want to hand it over to you. I want you to sort of give now the pitch of sale to get people out of their houses, into those theatres, bums on seats, supporting Cats in Space. Why should they do it?
Because we're brilliant. That's why. We've got the best singer in the country, and I don't care who says that. Damien Edwards is an incredible singer, incredible drummer, incredible bass player. Jeff Brown, who's a show in himself. Dean Howard on guitar, one of the coolest guitar players you'll ever see on stage. Andy Stewart with a top hat and a white grand piano. We've got a white grand piano being wheeled in for this. You've got Damien. You're going to get back-in singers. We're bringing out some space kitties, which no one's ever seen before. So there's going to be more of us on stage. You're going to get me. I'll be there. So I'll be doing whatever I do. But best of all, the reason why we're doing this is James Heron, who's the man behind our videos for Million Miles, Teenage Millionaires, Poke the Witch, etc., who's nuttier than all of us put together. He is currently, as we speak, designing a visual presentation to accompany the show. So the 2 sets are going to be visually presented as well as the band playing. We're going to have visuals behind us. And last night I saw a clip of Johnny Rocket. So yes, we are playing Johnny Rocket again, folks. And I've seen a visual clip of it. And I'll tell you what, if we pull this off, you're going to go, oh, wow, look what they've done. Because no band on our level has done this before. I'm pretty sure they couldn't have, because it's so expensive to put the visuals together. James is mad and he's doing it for free. But you're talking some serious computer programming to do this. So we're hopefully going to have 3 screens, one of them being a giant cat pod behind Stevie, and it's going to show footage to go along with the show for the whole duration. And it's
Are
going to
you
be an
filming
amazing.
it?
Huh?
Are you going to make a DVD?
We are hopefully going to, yeah. I mean, hopefully as the tour goes, we're going to try and find a space to do something like that. Yeah. And also, I don't know if I should be doing this as an exclusive, but I need to sell the tour. We're going to be recording every single show.
Wow.
So if you ain't there, you ain't going to be on our next record. So best come along and shout your lungs off because you might be on the next Cats in Space record. So the plan is we're going to record every show. We hope to film one of the shows at some point, and it's going to be a massive. It's going to be really good. I'm kind of being slightly funny about it, but it's going to be really good, and we're very nervous. And we basically said we can't tour like we did before. What can we do? It's shit or bust. Let's put on the show that I think Cats in Space fans have been hoping one day we could achieve. We're not ELO, we're not at the O2, we haven't got an 80-foot spaceship, we haven't got all that, but what we will have is something that like no band has done on our level before. So please buy a ticket, go to a venue, make the effort, get your mates together, get a minibus and get pissed for the weekend and put a Cats in Space gig in the middle of it. Have a picnic outside the theatre. I don't know. Just imagine. You've got to make memories in life. This is what I'm on a soapbox again, but when people go and pay 300 quid to see Rammstein, they're making memories that they'll never have again. People want memories at this time of their lives, and we want Cats in Space to be one of their memories. So come along and make a memory. We promise you an amazing show played totally live. There's no click tracks, there's no sequencing, because most of these big shows are run on clicks because the lights have to go with the music, which is why Motley Crue mimes everything. We're doing it 100% live, and James is going to be punching in every single visual change manually, like Rick Wakeman on the keyboard. This is how you do it, folks, when your ass is on the pot. There's none of this hit play off of a laptop and the band play to a click and it's all on track. Nope. What you're going to see is a blood, guts, and thunder proper live experience with visuals, and we might die at the end of it. I don't know, but it's going to be fucking amazing. So do come and see us, and you'll even get to see Bootleg Bandoleros because we're doing it. I didn't think we were going to play it live, but we are going to be doing Bootleg Bandoleros, so that's worth the ticket price alone, isn't it?
There you go, people. You are being told. Get your backsides out of your house. Get to the gigs. Get supporting Cats in Space. I mean, they really are. I mean, I can't say it enough. The website, again, catsinspace.co.uk, it's very personal. You feel like you're part of the family. So, what's stopping you? Get out there and support them. Let's get live music back to where it should be. As Greg said, rock music at the moment, it's suffering. Let's get it back up to where it was a fair few years ago. Let's get it to be the powerhouse that it was. Greg, I mean, absolutely fantastic. I knew it would be. I knew it would be an absolutely brilliant interview. We've covered so much, and I get the feeling as well that we could probably go on for hours and hours and hours discussing everything else as well.
Yes. I talk far too much, and I apologise to all the millions of viewers out there. But when you're as passionate about what we do as I am, you have to label the point. I want people to understand why. Come and join the Cat family. Don't be embarrassed about the name. You like Def Leppard when they first came out, and that's a daft name, and Led Zeppelin. It's not about the name. Who cares about the name? It's about the music and keeping the rock industry going, because at the moment it's on its arse. And we want to kick it up the arse and try and help get it back to where it should be. Theatres are the future. For bands like us, theatres are the future. And I'll stand by that.
I think there's going to be a lot of groups, actually, to be fair, taking a very close interest in how it goes, keeping an eye on what you guys are doing. I think you may well be right there. You may have well just started the next revolution.
Come down. All you bands out there that may listen to this, come down. Come down and see us. You ain't got to like us. You can bugger off halfway and say we're rubbish. But come down and see how it's done, because trust me, you're going to want to do it. So come and say hello. All bands need to pull together and stop you know, there's the days of being egotistical arseholes is over. It's never coming back. There's no hierarchy anymore. We're all exposed on Facebook, showing our cats and our cleaning our cars and doing whatever, eating our tea. There's no rock stars anymore. We're all in the same boat together. So let's pull together and keep the rock industry going because it needs it from everybody. Rant over.
As I say, it's a very fair and powerful point as well, and one that does need making, and people do need to start paying attention, because if it doesn't happen, folks, then rock music's going to go. We won't have it. We'll just literally have records, CDs if they exist. Unfortunately, the streaming services, there won't be any live tours. There won't be any chance to go and witness these bands play anymore. So get off your asses, go and support people. I've been your host, Pete Arnett. I hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. We certainly have as well. I'll let our editor and chief in command say goodbye. Goodbye, Bruce.
Goodbye, everyone. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And
Thank
again,
you, Bruce.
thank you so much, Greg, for taking the time. I know you've got a busy schedule, so we do appreciate you taking the time to do this. Everybody, I give you Greg Hart.
Thank you very much, everybody. Rock on.
Take care, everybody. Until next time. See you all later.